Hello everybody, welcome to your video. So today we're going to talk about COVID-19. You've heard about it so much, I'm sure, over the last couple of months, but I wanted for us just to take a moment and give you some advice, some information about how this is going to affect your life as an RCIC. For all of you exam takers, of course, we'll take a look at how this might affect your upcoming exam. And even beyond that, we're going to take a look at how this could affect the future business that you might have. So for all of you, we met a lot of people at the online seminars because we've still been working, of course, as I'm sure you have. And it's fantastic to see all of you working towards your goals, even though, I mean, you're watching this video right now, you're taking time to watch this video. And we're really happy for you that you are continuing to move towards becoming an RCIC, towards passing the exam, and of course, reaching your dream of starting your own immigration business. So keep up the good work. I know that you are juggling a million things at the same time. At the seminars, I think maybe it was half of people, maybe even more, were saying that they have kids, they have a job where they're working remotely and they're taking care of everybody pretty much. And of course, making sure everyone is safe and healthy. So when you add on top of this, the fact that you're getting ready for the big exam, I really salute you. Everyone here, we're working remotely and kind of being safe as well, of course. And for all of us, I mean, we're really proud of you. So keep up the good work. You might not see people or anything like that right now, but really everybody is cheering for you in getting ready for the exam. And even though it's difficult times right now, you know, we're really there to support you. And again, I think you're going to really look back on this time later on and you'll say, wow, I survived a pretty difficult time in getting in reaching my goals. And thank you for letting us be a part of that. So in this video, we're going to talk about a couple of things, well, more than a couple, I guess, but really they fall into these two categories. So if you're an RCIC or future RCIC, I should say, who's getting ready for the ICCRC exam, well, you probably have a lot of questions about how the situation right now might play a role in your upcoming exam. So we'll talk about that. In the second half of this video, we'll talk about business. So maybe you're an RCIC already, maybe you just passed the exam and you're starting your business. Or maybe you are going to take the exam, pass, and then start your business. And in any case, it's going to be a new world. So let's take a look at some ways in which this situation might evolve to affect your business. All right, so the first thing for us to take a look at is this. Now, I'm sure if you are an exam taker who was going to take the May 3rd exam, you know that the date has been changed to either June 21st or June 28th. It's not 100% certain, of course. It depends how the situation unfolds. But the ICCRC is pretty sure it's going to be one of those two dates. All this information, of course, comes from the ICCRC website. So I've got the link just below for you. But if you want to take a look, of course, at that link, it's a good idea. We are going to discuss a few of the main kind of things in there. So the ICCRC keeps working, right? So you've probably been getting the newsletters and you've been getting the emails from them. Personally, I had a couple of things I was checking with them. They got back to me really quickly as well. So just fantastic to see that they're still working. They're working remotely, of course. And they say on the website as well that some of the emails and communication is a little bit delayed, but that's just like everybody. So they have been, I think, fantastic with accommodating all of you exam takers with this situation. Some of the main points on that link are over here. So I'll just go through them quickly, just in case you're going to read that link instead of listening to me. So they're going to allow you to, I think, have a bit of an easier time in getting your documentation ready. So you can see with the first point here that they are allowing you to have your documentation witnessed by someone who is near you, I guess, is what it really is. So they don't want you to go out, risk your health, risk society by going to go see a notary or a commissioner for oaths. Instead, of course, temporarily they're allowing you to have your documentation witnessed by someone who is nearby, nearby physically, I guess. It can be a family member or someone like that. Now, they're waiving certain requirements for the copies and stuff like that as well. The third one is interesting because they have moved the deadline to apply to May 15th. So if you are a future RCIC who's in the situation where, I would say the perfect situation for someone who might want to still apply, because you still have, maybe it's 3 weeks or so, almost 3 weeks. I would say that would be someone who is maybe quarantined at home. You have some time to study and that kind of thing. Your language results are still valid, and you can get all this information together. Well, you still have time to go apply. And I would say if you're someone at home who, I know I've got some kind of colleagues and friends and family who are home and they say that they're kind of bored. Other people are in a situation where, well, I'm sure like most of you and like us, where you are juggling work, family, everything like that, and you're very not bored. However, if you're in either of those situations, I guess, you can still maybe make this exam, the upcoming exam, if you didn't register for that May 3rd exam and you still want to reach your goals. So something to think about. The deadline for payment for those fees is a week after the deadline to register. You probably just want to do it all at the same time anyways. It's just like government fees as well. It's always easier to just pay at once. Now, for people who paid already, you've been automatically switched to the next exam. So instead of May 3rd, you have automatically been switched to June 21st or 28th, depending on the final date that comes to be. I think it's the 7th point there. The ICCRC no longer offers remote invigilation. So this used to be for people who were in other countries often, or in kind of difficult to reach places where it would have been really difficult to make it to one of the cities where there was an exam. You could have been, I'm thinking of a client from before who was in Colombia, and he wrote his exam at the Canadian consulate in Bogota, and they had people invigilating him, right? So he was kind of in a room, but with someone there to make sure he doesn't cheat and that kind of thing. Well, the ICCRC is no longer offering that. It goes with security for the exam. So just like other exams, right? You can't take the IELTS at a non-IELTS center. So similar to that, of course, and those very rigorous security procedures that go into IELTS and other exams, well, the ICCRC has become, I suppose, more secure in that way as well. Okay, you do need your language results. So if you took your IELTS a year ago, perfect. As you know, language results are valid for 2 years. Now, for people who people who want to register, for example, for the May 15th exam, let's say today you're excited and you want to go register for it. Well, if you don't have those IELTS results, you might be in a little bit of a difficult situation, because from all the meetings I've been to and things like that for IELTS, they are hoping for a June opening, I guess. However, it all depends, of course, on how the situation unfolds. So speaking a bit more practically, for all of you exam takers who were registered for the May 3rd exam and you're going to be changed to the June 21st or 28th exam, I've got some good news for you. So you might be worried that COVID-19 could play a role in your exam in terms of the content of the exam, because COVID-19 has changed immigration. So is this reflected in the exam? Well, the answer is, in terms of our strategy, is no. It is not likely to play a role on your upcoming exam. If you've been working through our material, if you've been working through our lessons, if you've gone to our seminars and that kind of thing, well, everything is still valid, of course. So the content that you've been studying, that you've been working through, is all up to date, even for this change. The strategies that we discussed in the seminar, maybe the strategy you've been learning from the videos as well, Well, all of that is, of course, still relevant for the exam. Well, why is this? And how can we sort of know this? Well, the cutoff date. So remember, there's a 90-day cutoff date. Now, for the exam that has been moved to June 21st or 28th, well, that cutoff date is March 23rd or 30th, depending on, of course, the date. So when we take a look at this and how it relates to immigration changes, the first travel restrictions were implemented, on March 22nd. So if you take a look at the IRCC website, I've got the link just below the video here. So if you are if you're looking at this video on our website rather than YouTube, you've got all the links ready for you below. If you're watching on YouTube instead, you could just click on the link to go to our website, and then you'll see all the links for this below. And it's all about really immigration changes. So the first major immigration change related to COVID was implemented March 22nd. And as I said, as you can see, even if you count the 90 days, well, March 23rd is the date of the cutoff if the exam winds up being on June 21st. So what does this mean for you? Well, it means that your life is easier now, so you can keep working on those areas that you have been working on. If the exam winds up being on March 30th, June 28th, well, there's not that many changes actually related to COVID anyways. There's not that many changes in general anyways. However, we will, of course, release more information. It'll be linked. It'll be actually at the bottom of this video on the website about that. We're just waiting for confirmation about the exact date. But as you can see, I mean, the only changes that could potentially be on the exam are from the 22nd, 26th, and 30th, if, of course, the exam is on the 30th. Now, those changes are, of course, temporary as well. So again, the likelihood of this being on the exam is not very high. However, we care about you. We want you to succeed. We don't want you to worry too much. So we're going to have this information ready for you on how to keep yourself updated just below this video on the website. All right, so when we think a little bit more generally, we know that the exam date has changed and the strategies we're working with, the content, they are most likely going to be the same. So pretty good news because you don't have to worry too much about these COVID-related changes. However, like I said, we're going to have a little print off ready for you just at the bottom of this video. And if you are a bit worried about that playing a role in the exam, we've got you covered, of course. So the cutoff, like I said, is either March 23rd or 30th, depending on when the exam date is confirmed. Now, for some positive things, most people I've spoken to at the seminars have been happy with this change because it gives them more time to study, right? So I know a lot of you are at home and you're probably studying maybe late at night, and it's tough to make that time. So I understand, and it's great that you have an extra 8 or so weeks to work on reaching your goals. Now, when you go to the actual exam, don't be surprised if the procedures are a little bit different. So if there are some social distancing requirements, there has been some talk about this with other exams, such as IELTS, where you might go to the exam and they might require you to wear masks. The desks, for example, might be farther apart than usual, which is good actually, because it might be more quiet for you. So don't let this scare you, I guess, when the exam happens, or if those are some of the requirements that they send to you later on. For a lot of you, well, it is a good time to begin planning your business. You are, of course, getting ready for the exam. You're working through everything that you can, of course, in terms of material. However, if you've got this extra time, it's a really good time to make sure that you can plan your business, because once you receive those exam results and you want to begin, if you have everything organized already, or you have your ideas and that kind of thing, that's just perfect, because we're going to talk later on about the fact that you're going to have a lot of clients and it's something just fantastic that you can do right now while you have time. Okay, so for some people though, when we look at the negative side of this, you might feel like you will lose some motivation over the next 8 weeks or so, or begin to get distracted. I completely understand. So realize that this will happen to some people, and realize that if you notice you are getting distracted or losing motivation, keep working. And if you only give us 20 minutes a day, is, I would say, pretty minimum, but sometimes you just might lose motivation, and that's okay. Just make sure you log in and work through a video or something like that once in a while. As you get closer to the exam date, you're going to have, of course, more motivation. Okay, for some of you as well, you might be, I don't think this is too stressful really, but it is a little bit difficult to plan things when you have a lot going on, I'm sure, and you aren't 100% sure about the exam date. So that is something that can be a little bit stressful for you. And of course, for everybody, really. If you have clients, for a lot of you, you're going to have clients waiting for you right now. And pretty much the whole world is on hold these days. So even though your exam date has been delayed a little bit, for people who have clients waiting for you to get that license, you're in a very good position, of course, because it's great to have, I mean, those first clients are the key to your business success. And hopefully those people can wait a little bit longer. I know there's a delay, of course, for people to take their IELTS, to get documents, etc. So they're probably waiting anyways for you to get your license, but it's not that much longer for them to wait. So hopefully they can wait a little bit longer for you. All right, so let's move on to talk about a little bit more about how this might affect your business once you start your business. So for a lot of you, it is, of course, an interesting time to start a business. You might not be too sure about if it really is the right time to start an immigration business. So I'll tell you what we discussed a couple of weeks ago. So we have this whole network of RCICs who we communicate with, who we refer people to, who refer people to us, and hopefully, I mean, we would love it if you would work with us as well in the future. And just out of curiosity, I mean, we're friends with a lot of these people as well, and it kind of comes up in informal conversations. We talk about you, really, and future RCICs, new RCICs, and of course, what we should tell you, really, about the real world of immigration consulting. So I'll tell you what we discussed over the last couple of weeks, and we have been, of course, speaking with RCICs, some RCICs who have gigantic companies, a lot of RCICs who have smaller home-based companies, and some of the responses were really, really interesting. So I wanted to just share these with you. It's going to take this slide and the next slide, just so that you can see what your future colleagues are saying about joining this amazing industry for you, because you're newer consultants. Okay, so when you take a look at Canada's response to this whole situation, so first of all, we have a prime minister who is very popular worldwide, and Canada's response to this, I think, has been incredible, really. A lot of other countries, I won't really say which countries or anything like that, but you probably know, have had issues with the way that this has been handled by their government, and it is heartbreaking that we're going to see really difficult situations in a lot of places. When we think of this, of course, in terms of how people look at Canada, it does raise Canada's profile, of course. For a lot of people, really, they're thinking of immigrating somewhere, and it's not necessarily Canada. For example, if you're working in, I don't know, let's say you're an RCIC who works with a lot of Indian clients. Well, a lot of your clients are choosing between Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Britain, maybe some other countries as well. And this type of situation, I think, makes Canada, even though it's a strange circumstance because it's a really sad situation worldwide, but it certainly does raise Canada's profile for people who are thinking of going somewhere. So having said this, you are in a very interesting position in starting a business, because you have this country that you're in and promoting that has an incredible profile already, and then Canada's response to this of following science, even the community. So for all of you, I'm sure you're in the same situation that we are, where I'm really proud of all my neighbors, my colleagues, my friends, my coworkers. Everybody really is taking this seriously. What the government says to do, that's what everyone's doing, really. And I'm really proud of everybody. I know all of you are doing the same thing, so it's just fantastic to hear that. And then, of course, you see this on an international scale as well, where Canada, I think, is doing amazingly well with this really delicate, difficult situation. And there are a lot of other countries as well who are doing amazing. However, I don't think a lot of those countries are accepting the same amount of immigrants as Canada. So Canada's immigration goals have not really changed. We're still at just around 1 million immigrants over the next 3 years. So Canada's not slowing down really in terms of the amount of immigrants that they are accepting per year. In terms of business, this was something that came up a lot over these conversations, is that for a lot of RCICs who have offices, they're working from home, right? And of course, not doing business travel at all. Now, in the future, as this situation keeps kind of developing, one of the comments that a lot of people say, a lot of RCICs say, is that for newer RCICs, for them as well, for people who have a lot of experience as RCICs, they're going to travel less for business. They're going to work from home more and more and more. A lot of them might even give up their offices. So for you, you might have kind of a vision of your future company, and you probably thought you would put up a sign that says your immigration company, and people walk in the door and you have an initial consultation, and then if they qualify, they become your client. It's going to probably be a little bit different, and this is good actually, because for a lot of new RCICs, we talk about this all the time really, and it's just fantastic if you can target clients overseas. In my experience, in a lot of my colleagues as well, they would say something similar, that it's a good way to work because you can select your clients really, and you can be selective with your time, with the programs you want to work with as well, and with and you have a lot of people kind of coming to see you, but you have a limited amount of space in terms of the quota that you accept at a time. So it's interesting. It is kind of a changing business practice, and personally, I think this way is better for newer consultants. So it's a good change. I'm optimistic anyways, but for all of you, I think it is a good move for you. This is something interesting. So I do this pretty much all the time, even if we're here in Montreal, but if I have a meeting with someone, it's always so much easier to have a meeting on Skype or on GoToMeeting or something like that, rather than seeing the person in person. So if you have a very limited amount of time, it's always great to have these meetings through a webcam and that kind of thing. If you can't meet up with a person for like coffee or whatever, or have them at your office. For all of you, it's going to be great because you will be able to do your initial consultations online. People won't really expect you to meet in person, even though some people want to, of course, and even you might want to, right? But it is, I'll tell you, it is easier. It is way less time consuming to have virtual meetings, even though sometimes it's less fun, but it's okay. So out of those RCICs that we spoke with, roughly half said that they are getting actually more immigration inquiries these days, and that the profiles of these people is actually stronger than what they would have had 6 months ago, for example. Now, I can see this as well in that people who are, for us, for example, we get messages from kind of friends and stuff like that, or people we know, or a friend of a friend sort of thing, friends of clients and that sort of thing as well, who have finally decided to take those steps towards immigrating to Canada, even though they have amazing lives in their countries. So previously, it was sort of a difficult conversation for a lot of RCICs, because you could have an executive from a company living in Mexico, let's say, who speaks English, who has maybe a master's degree and that kind of thing. And the person is maybe sort of interested in coming to Canada, but it's tough to leave the good life that he or she has in Mexico, let's say. Well, these days, this is what a lot of RCICs say, is that they're getting more inquiries from people with, I don't want to say stronger profiles, but people with maybe a higher education, higher language, who would probably qualify for several immigration programs. And for the RCICs, they're pretty happy with this because there are often solutions for these people. A lot of RCICs, I agree with this completely, think that more localized programs are going to become, they have been, of course, more popular, more prevalent in recent years anyways, but that these ones will get a big boost, really, because certain little towns or communities are looking for specific people, and especially now there's going to be a higher need for programs. That you probably saw that the agricultural programs are still running, and they have, of course, their social distancing requirements, isolation requirements, because those workers are so incredibly important for Canadian society. So a lot of the RCICs I spoke with, and again, I agree with this, I think that more localized, of course, immigration is going to be even more essential, because these companies in towns, in small towns, in communities will really, really, really need certain types of people now, even more than before. So if you're a newer RCIC and you're getting ready to kind of think about which areas you might specialize in, I mean, those are two pretty good ones, RNIP, AIPP. Caregivers, though. This is going to, in my opinion, and with the RCICs I spoke with as well, pretty much everyone agrees that, especially with the new programs, so there's those two programs now, the home child care provider and the home support worker programs, that is going to be really in high need. So those programs are, I think, way more accessible than the previous caregivers programs. And there's going to be such a high need for this. In some ways, it's a bit sad, because the people who are working right now as caregivers, as nurses, in the health industry in general, they're heroes. Like they're doing incredible work right now. There's going to be people, though, who need time off, really, after the situation dies down a little bit. So that is where those caregivers from other countries, I think, will play a huge role in Canadian society. I think for you as RCICs, if you are selecting or working with caregivers to help people immigrate through that program and get that work permit, I think that's just fantastic work. There's a bigger picture with what you do anyways, but something like that where you are helping a person who's going to help other people in Canada, I think that's just something really special. So if you're thinking of which areas you're going to work with, I think there's a fantastic opportunity in there in terms of kind of the bigger picture, and of course in setting up your business as well. Okay, so some of those other elements that came up are here. So you're going to have some people who want to do things quickly, because there's a window that's closing that they might think. So there's going to be people in Canada here who maybe qualify for PR already. And they were maybe waiting. So maybe it's someone on a post-grad work permit who already completed that 1 year of Canadian work experience. And maybe it's been 6 months since he met that 1 year, maybe another 6 months, so maybe he's a year after that. And everything is sort of, immigration isn't really on hold, but people are on hold basically, because everyone's at home, right? So after this, once kind of the society opens up bit by bit, there is going to be, this is what a lot of RCICs say, I agree with it as well, is that we speculate that there is going to be a rush for people to obtain PR. So for you, if you are an RCIC already, or if you're going to be an RCIC, I would say to get ready, because you're going to have a lot of people ready to use your services. And of course, if they qualify already, I mean, that's just fantastic. So especially people in Canada already, because they likely meet the requirements if they, of course, I mean, there's certain requirements, right? If they're here legally, all that type of stuff, right? But if they've been here, let's say they came as a student on that postgrad work permit, there's going to be a lot of people ready to take those next steps towards getting PR, and they're going to want to move quickly as well. Same here. All right, so a lot of people, we've had this as well, where people have, they've met their citizenship requirements for years, but they just never got it because they, I don't really know why people wouldn't jump on Canadian citizenship right away if they qualify. Some people just never get around to it, or they're not too sure about their plan. But there's going to be, you're going to see a lot of people who qualify for Canadian citizenship and they want it now. I think they're looking at, of course, the way Canada has treated its citizens and permanent residents through this, well, and even temporary, everyone really, throughout this crisis. And they want to just take that last little step, or something they've been thinking of for a long time, but there was never, people get busy and that kind of thing. So I can tell you from the immigration side of our company that we've had this a lot already. And I think you will as well. And if you do, it's fantastic, especially if it's a client who you helped come to Canada, maybe as a student or a temporary worker or something like that, and then transition to PR, then transition to citizenship. It's a fantastic way to kind of, I don't know, see your client reach their goals after all these years. But they're going to want to do it quickly, so you'd have to get ready, of course. PGP sponsorship. So there have been, of course, a lot of questions about when this will open up again and all that type of thing. And it is difficult, I think, for a lot of people. I think a lot of maybe PRs or even citizens who have been here for a long time, I think that maybe it's always been on their mind to get their parents here. That is, of course, a big selling point for Canada in general, is that Canada allows parents and grandparents to obtain PR. I think for a lot of people as well, when they're at home and they're juggling their kids and work and everything like that, as much as it's I mean, I love spending time with my kid, of course, but it would be nice to have a little bit of support from the grandparents. So I think there will be a very high demand for parent and grandparent sponsorship once people emerge from their houses and that sort of thing. So again, if it's an area that you would like to specialize in, I think it's a great area to work with. This is a big, in my world anyways, this is a big one here. So we're all kind of getting ready for these exams. You might know that we have online IELTS lessons from EnglishExamPrep.com. And we've been really busy over there as well, just because a lot of RCICs, so we only partner with RCICs, and we're only available really to the clients of RCICs. And a lot of those RCICs, I mean, they're being really proactive with their clients. They want their clients to use this time wisely so that they can get that score they need in IELTS so that they can open up a lot of immigration doors for them. So on our side, we're busy. Once those exams open up again, they are going to be slammed with, I think, a very large number of people who need those exams because, well, look at the first point, right? There's going to be a rush for people who want to obtain PR. This is interesting too. So this is what a lot of RCICs say. I mean, I agree as well with this. I mean, I agree with everything really, but I think it makes a lot of sense that a lot of because there is going to be, I mean, there's likely to be a bit of an economic downturn in Canada, right? People losing their jobs, companies won't hire as much. That's likely to happen, right? And equally as likely is that new immigrants and new Canadians, and look at all of you, for example. I mean, all of you are, probably most of you, or 80% of you, are going to start your own immigration company. Well, most of your clients are going to be in a similar position where they are going to come to Canada. Maybe it's someone who, when I say entrepreneurial programs, I don't mean necessarily that everyone's going to, or a larger number of people are going to immigrate through self-employed or maybe some of those provincial entrepreneur programs. A person could be a federal skilled worker, for example, immigrating, and maybe the person's plan is to come here, look for a job, and have a little side project at the beginning, and maybe that side project will turn into a business. So I think that's what most of you are doing as well with your immigration companies. And people will need side jobs, right? I think that's the way that society will go. And I think it will be reflected in your future clients. For international students, so Canada's been amazing, I think, to international students as well. So there's like the financial support, of course, and the work permit as well for essential workers who are international students as well. So when people are comparing, because again, it's just like we talked about before, where you have international students, but those international students and their parents, they're not necessarily thinking of Canada. They are comparing Canada to other countries where they might want to study. Canada has so many advantages for that. And if you're going to work in immigration, students is a fantastic area to work in because, of course, it's almost step-by-step immigration in some ways, right? So you have students who come here and then transition to post-grad work permit, transition to PR, transition to citizenship. And with this as well, Canada is an incredible country for this, incredibly popular as well. However, most RCICs who I spoke with feel that there's going to be a drop in the number of international students coming to Canada. Not because Canada has not treated its international students properly, but because if there is a worldwide recession, well, a lot of those international students' parents or the international students themselves might have a little bit of financial difficulty paying those international student fees and that kind of thing. So most RCICs I work with I'm friends with or spoke with who work with international students, they are expecting that to drop a little bit soon and then rise up again over the next few years. And the last point here is this one. So just like we talked about before, for clients who need IELTS, who need CELPIP, etc., there's a delay, right? Because obviously those organizations are following the health recommendations and keeping everybody safe. So again, those big exams like IELTS, for example, they're on hold right now, right? So when they open up again, though, there's going to be a lot of people who need these exams. And like I said, for us, I know we're really busy on the IELTS preparation side. I'll leave the link for that just below here as well in case anyone's interested, because, hey, people want to make sure that they use this time wisely and still reach their goals, just like all of you watching this video. All right, and then for current RCICs, or if you're starting your business really soon, I'll just talk a little bit about support that's out there for you. So this is a pretty amazing one. It's a loan from the CEBA, so the government program to help people. This is the Scotiabank details, but I think every other bank has this as well, where it's basically a $40,000 loan. If you pay back $30,000 within 2020. You get $10,000 really. So pretty amazing. And I think it's really helpful for smaller businesses like you will have, or if you already have your small business. I think it's just a great way to support you, to support the staff that you have as well. I won't get into this too much, but I know a lot of people registered for it, a lot of RCICs. Someone mentioned that he was accepted within 5 minutes or something like that. So it's just a great program. If you have a small business, if you qualify, take advantage of it. I've got the link for you just below, or I don't know if you know Sante Tesselin yet, but he is your Scotiabank liaison for RCICs. So feel free to send him an email. Okay, and this is from the ICCRC website. I've got that link for you just below as well. I think they really summarized some of the other support for you really well. And that is that certain people receive a certain amount of money over a certain amount of time, depending on, of course, their situation, right? So I'll link this for you below as well, and I recommend for you to take a look at it. Because if you're in that situation, it's just fantastic that the government is, of course, there to support you. All right, and same with us. So we're working hard to, of course, help you continue to reach your goals. You can, of course, work from home with us. Our online lessons are there to help you. Most people have been purchasing the full package. That has pretty much everything, right? So it has all your simulations, so simulation 1, 2, 3, the other simulation, the seminar itself, and of course, extra lessons. So the 10 hours of protected persons, refugees lessons, the 4-hour LMIA lesson, the PRA lesson, that's some extra little stuff in there as well. So anyways, we are open for business. We're still here to help you reach your goals. And of course for you, I mean, keep working towards reaching your goals. All right, so everybody stay healthy. Let's all celebrate the end of this video by washing our hands. Take care of your families and keep working towards reaching your goals. I'm really proud of all you guys for taking the time to continue to work through the lessons, work through the simulations, work towards, of course, your goal of starting your business as an immigration consultant. Let's see how these next few months go. But even despite these difficult times, I mean, keep working towards your dream, really, of helping future Canadians become Canadian. And for yourselves, keep up the good work.